Welcome back, NoDQ Galaxy, to a brand new edition of the NoDQ review number 285. I'm the moderator, Virtue, being joined by this week's elite panel of the review. Of course, Aaron Rift is in the house, the reliable one, Walter Cruz, and Mike is back here. And the whole show is going to be dedicated talking about Roman Reigns, talking about the Bloodline, because they stir up so much controversy with the diehard marks when they're there and when they're not there. And the latest victim is Jey Uso. And I think Aaron Rift might have some stuff to say. And yes, we do have a topic about the Bloodline. Jey was in the Bloodline. He can be discussed in this segment, this show about Roman Reigns. What's up, everybody? Mike, what's going on?
Nothing much. Thanks for having me again. Looking forward to it.
Straight into the point, and we'll be back to you shortly.
I'm excited to talk the Bloodline. I'm interested to do some of the favorites.
And then, super chats will come along the way and sidetrack us, I'm sure, but try to super chat questions about Bloodline, Roman, Rock, anything going forward that we're going to be discussing. And follow along, people. We know how you can be sometimes, Psycho Jet Black. All right, Walter, what's up?
I'm doing well. Good to be seen. Good to see everybody. Congratulations, Virtue, returning from your honeymoon. And yeah, we're at 287. We're just so close to the review number 300. Just like, 15 weeks away?
Like
if we do it straight every week? Like, that's crazy.
Yeah,
so,
I'm ready to get
Meltzer,
into it. According to Dave Meltzer, Cody Rhodes is going to beat Roman at WrestleMania. No, it never was the case, you jackass. You know absolutely shit. You have a mole that gives you 25 to 30% correct information of meaningless stuff just so you'll spew the wrong stuff that they give you. And that is absolute BS. They marketed the Roman Reigns 1,000 Day shirt. You're such a mark. And you and your toxic fan base that turn on people like Jey Uso, shame on you. But Aaron, how's it going? Welcome back.
Yes, it's happy times here on the NoDQ.com YouTube channel, because we have the NoDQ review live once again, and everybody's been waiting. It's been building up for almost 2 weeks now. We haven't done a review, and everybody's eager to discuss what's going on in the world of wrestling. Things are changing as we get into the summer. Now, we do have a couple of super chats before we get into the scheme of things. Shout out to the Cleaver, Colin Andrew, says, welcome back, Virtue. Great wedding and party. Thanks. We appreciate that, Colin. It was great to see you. Love the restaurant. Make sure you guys check it out. It's GOTL Brewing Company, located in Geneva on the Lake, Ohio. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yep.
Yeah, check that out. Great restaurant. You can have seating right by Lake Erie, and the food is delicious, and who knows, Colin might even prepare a meal for you. So head over there if you live in Northeast Ohio. There's a little plug for the Cleaver, Colin Andrew, and here we are. This was the 5 of us, the NoDQ boys, at the wedding, and it was a great time. Virtue was off on the honeymoon this past week. He's back now, and we have a lot to talk about. So let's get to this next super chat. Psycho Jet Black sent in a $2 super chat, says, hey, Virtue, are you a fan of Roman Reigns?
Yeah, I mean, I've been a fan of Roman Reigns since The Shield. So, yeah, a decade and counting. Over a decade.
There you go. Not just a bandwagon jumper. He's been a fan since day one-ish.
I do miss that dynamic of The Shield back in the day, though. Man, there were some badass heels back then.
Yeah, they dominated WWE for that good 6 months to a year before they broke up. Arthur Jones sent in a $2 super chat. Says, welcome back, Virtue. Still a damn mark.
Who? Arthur, you're a mark then, now, forever. I'd say together, but.
I thought you were just going to say thanks for the $2. But how about this one? Arthur Jones sent in another $2. Says, congratulations on your wedding, Virtue. Mark still.
I know, Arthur, you're a mark on every $2 super chat, and that's okay. We enjoy having you here as part of the NoDQ review.
All right, so let's get into this. I'm ready to go.
First topic, we're going to start with, and this we've had the Bloodline basically since August of the pandemic. That it really formed when Roman came back, and he had that program with Jay, and then Jimmy eventually came back, and it grew to Solo. We know the whole story. The Rock has been part of the Bloodline. Paul Heyman is part of the Bloodline. Now we have some new members and rumored members. But let's stick to everybody that we know that has either been part of the Bloodline or is currently in it, even with Roman away and The Rock away. And who knows who's the Don right now? Could be The Rock. But what's everybody's top 3 members? And I'm just, if somebody doesn't pick Roman Reigns, number 1, it better be The Rock. But I guess I'm more curious on to see who's the 2 and the 3. I have a feeling there'll be one guy left out on a lot of people's lists. But Walter, I'm going to start with you. You can do 3, 2, and 1. We have half a dozen members at least, and we're throwing The Rock at Sami Zayn. So have at it and chat. Let's go. I mean, this is a Roman Reigns discussion. He should be number 1 on a lot of people's lists. Walter, start with you.
I'll go. I'm going to say 3, Jay, just to piss everybody off because you fickle fans that just turn on him. He wins one match. Everybody's like, he's not main event. He needs to be main event. They gave him this nickname. He's not in any main events. He wins a match, does what you want, and then everybody turns their back on him, and Twitter's going crazy on hate. I don't get it. He get this crazy reception in France, and then you people turn your back because he won a match because of you wanted Ilya to win. I just don't get it. But 2, The Rock. I grew up, I was a teenager during the Attitude Era. The Rock and Stone Cold were just beefing, so you got to go The Rock. And then 1, you got to go Roman. Like, he carried the whole storyline. And, honorable mention Sammy because I feel like if it wasn't for Sammy, this Bloodline story would have ended a long time ago. I think that adding Sammy to it gave it more life. But, yeah, so Rock So Roman Reigns, The Rock, and Jey Uso.
So Roman at the head of the table, at least on your table. So that's good to know. I'm going to go over to Mike now. Mike's the kind of guy I feel like he's going to say number 3 Roman, number 2 Roman, number 1 Roman. But I don't know. I don't think we can do that. You got to have different people. So Mike, indulge us.
All right. Yeah, actually, I didn't think of doing that, Virtue, but Roman 1, 2, and 3 would be a viable option because if you leave Roman out of the Bloodline, it's not a Bloodline in my opinion. So, but number 3, I'm going to actually go with a fairly recent one, and I'll explain why. Okay. Number 3, Jimmy Uso. Ooh. Number 2, Solo. And then number 1 at the head of the table, Roman Reigns. Okay. And the reason I like this trio, although they did beat Solo too much for being the enforcer, why I picked these 3 is Jimmy is your henchman, kind of like, you go out there, stir shit up, cause trouble. If you get beat down, so what? You're kind of expendable. Solo is the enforcer that nobody messes with. Although, like I said, I think they kind of beat him too many times where that lost the luster. And then you had the clear-cut leader of Roman Reigns at the head of the table. Sure, Paul was there and, him and Paul had their thing together, but Roman's calling the shot. He's the quarterback. You don't call an audible. I call the audibles. And I thought that was a perfect trifecta. You have Roman leading it, Solo the enforcer, and Jimmy kind of just getting thrown to the wolves from time to time.
I like that list. And Roman gets another number 1 nod. And I see a lot of people in the chat as well doing that. I mean, this is an obvious thing. This was more to see who people's number 2 and 3 was. And maybe I'll be surprised here with Aaron's pick. I don't know. But Aaron, I will let you go next.
All right, first up, Psycho Jet Black sent in a $2 super chat, says, "Hey, Virtue, are you a fan of Jimmy Uso?"
Yeah, I like Jimmy. Like Mike said, Jay became the star out of the 2, or, upper mid-card star. Jimmy is that perfect henchman. I mean, to me, he's still attached to a tag team stigma, maybe because he didn't come in right away with Roman like Jay did, right, where they had those personal matches. But I like Jimmy. I mean, Jimmy is part of the Bloodline. Like, I kind of rank Jimmy ahead of Solo if my list extended beyond 3.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think Jimmy would be ahead of Solo, but neither of them are in my top three. I will do my top three right now. So my number three is The Rock, and I say that because The Rock has only been around for a short period of time, but he's already made a lot of impact with the Bloodline storyline. He helped get it red hot for WrestleMania, and we'll see what he does in the future. Before this is all over, maybe The Rock will be number two for the top of the Bloodline leaderboard. But my number two is, in fact, main event Jey Uso. And I've seen how the internet has turned against Jey Uso, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. Jey Uso is a great professional wrestler. And some of you are going to say, well, he sucks in the ring. I disagree on that. I think he's very good in the ring. And not just that, but he has personality, charisma. He connects with the audience. You look at the fans when he comes out there, they are fully invested in him. Some people think the Yeet catchphrase is stupid, but guess what? The Rock made a career out of goofy catchphrases. You know, it happens. It's wrestling. Part of being successful in wrestling is having a lot of different qualities. It's not just about the in-ring performances. It's about the whole presentation. And this has been like this throughout WWE history, going back to the start of the Vince McMahon Jr. era. They push guys that are larger than life, that have personality, that can connect with the audience. And that is main event Jey Uso. Roman Reigns deserves a lot of credit for elevating Jey, but Jey has worked his ass off. He went from being one of two people that you couldn't tell the difference between them, and now he's his own man. He has his own identity, and I think he's fantastic. He is a great professional wrestler, and people being upset that he beat Ilya Dragunov. Ilya Dragunov is technically a rookie on the WWE main roster. He is a newcomer. Jey Uso is a seasoned veteran. He has been around in WWE now for over a decade, and the veteran's going to beat the newcomer 9 times out of 10. Dragunov will get his time. We're going to get that match with Gunther. Don't panic, everybody. It's better that it's going to be at a premium live event instead of a random episode of Monday Night Raw. But yeah, people that are complaining about Jey Uso, that he sucks, like, it takes more than just the moves to be a great professional wrestler, in my opinion. You could be a great singer, but if you don't have the showmanship and the stage presence and the personality, you're only going to go so far. Look at Freddie Mercury. Freddie Mercury was a legend in music, but not just because of his singing, because he owned the stage. He had all of the people, Wembley Stadium, in the palm of his hand. It takes all of the different attributes to have that great package, and that's what Jey Uso is. So Jey Uso, little bit of a rant there, but Jey Uso is, in fact, my number 2. Walter, go ahead with what you would like to add.
I just wanted to say Gunther might be a future champion, and Ilya could be one of his challengers. You just got to be patient. Just hold on a minute. They didn't give it away for a reason. You don't give that away on a Raw.
Oh, absolutely. And they did the tease on Raw. They had the little backstage confrontation, and then at the end, Gunther walked past him. Believe me, we are going to get that match. Don't worry, folks. We will get that match that you've all been waiting for. And I've been waiting for it too. I mean, it's going to be a great match when it finally happens.
And I want to point out, Aaron, those are the same kind of people that wanted this Cody to finish his story. To those people, you don't wag WWE. WWE wags you. And that's exactly why Jey Uso won that match.
Yeah. And I knew going in, like, you see it, and yeah, you wanna have Dragunov fight Gunther, but you have to look at the star power. Jey Uso is hot right now. He just lost at Backlash, so you have to rehab him. He is one of WWE's top stars. Whether you like the Yeet gimmick, whether you like how he wrestles, he's one of WWE's top superstars, and he needed to get the win there. Dragunov will be okay. He's a newcomer. He'll have his time to shine. He'll be fine. Not as big of a deal as people are making it out to be. And that's the problem with these tournaments too. Like, we want clean finishes, right? So when you do matches with clean finishes, somebody has to lose. But then, of course, fans are going to be upset if the guy they like doesn't win. But at the end of the day, you're watching and you'll keep watching. And that's how tournaments go. People are going to win, people are going to lose. And eventually everybody's going to job except for one. Mike?
Yeah, before you give your number one, that's the beauty. And that's why I really enjoy wrestling, coming on stuff like this, and then on the podcast, have a section go inside the ropes. I love talking wrestling and play devil's advocate with you with the Jey Uso. Is Jey Uso as successful without the phone flashlight fan participation in the dark, and Pat McAfee leading the way, standing on top of the desk doing that?
And he yeeted himself.
Yeah, exactly. And is he as successful without that? And yeah, to his credit, he's made it and he's gone over with the fans like that. But, and again, to play devil's advocate with his in-ring work, he can do some spectacular stuff, but his open hand slap has got to get better, because he's not within 5 feet of the guys that are really trying to sell for him. And in my opinion, he's not even close to landing those open hand slaps.
All right, fair enough. Ultimate Warrior wasn't very good at delivering much of anything.
The Ultimate Warrior sucked, though.
Yeah, but he was a top superstar.
Yeah,
he was good. He was good at what he needed to do.
It was the gimmick in the body with the Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah.
But that's what I say. That's the beauty of the wrestling. You can have the debates like this and then again, I'm probably past the demographic that Jey Uso is marketed towards. So,
and
anyway,
Mike, when you get pushed, you need to have, especially as a baby face, you need to have a gimmick with like a saying and the crowd doing something. That's just how wrestling is. Jay was pretty over. I'm not saying mega over with the fans the minute he said, "I don't give a damn what the tribal chief says." So
yeah,
and you can maybe thank Sami Zayn for that. Who knows? But the fans were that kind of when Jay really started getting that. Hey, this guy is something other than just an Uso tag team member.
Yeah, and it was a team effort too. Obviously, Roman Reigns did his part, Jay did his part, Jimmy did his part, and they made it work. And but the Usos were doing great stuff before. They had a great run as a tag team before the Bloodline even got going. Like with the Bar and with the New Day and all those other tag teams, like they were pretty hot. But yeah, you couldn't tell one apart from the other until this Bloodline storyline really got cooking. But anyways, my number one is Sami Zayn. No, I'm kidding. It's Roman Reigns, of course. Sami would be up there, though. Sami did some great stuff as well. Obviously, that storyline was very entertaining and one of the best storylines WWE has ever produced, in my opinion. But yeah, obviously, Roman Reigns is number one. The Bloodline wouldn't exist without Roman. And, we talked about how he kind of had a reign of terror, but when you really look at it, everybody got elevated from being in there with Roman, whether it's Jey Uso or Sami Zayn, and even guys like Randy Orton, guys like Riddle. Like, I think they all got elevated because they were working with Roman Reigns and being part of that storyline. So I don't think anybody got buried being in that Bloodline storyline. I think everybody that was involved ended up in a higher position and with more star power than they did before it got going, with maybe a few exceptions. Cesaro went to AEW, and Bryan Danielson did too. So not everybody got elevated out of that, but those guys were on their way out anyways. But yeah, that's my top three. And now we got a couple of super chats, and got to give love to Paul Heyman too. It's a tough to rank. If you had to rank all them, honestly, Solo would probably be close to the bottom. Obviously Tama Tonga and Tanga Loa are new, so they would be at the bottom, but then Solo would probably be there. Then Jimmy, then maybe Sami Zayn or Paul Heyman, then Jimmy, Jay, Rock, Jay, and then Roman.
Now, Aaron, before you do the super chat, so with me, I'm in the same boat as you. Rock, he's my honorable mention. He's not in my top three yet. What I anticipate could happen when he returns, and if he does claim the heel bloodline and is the tribal chief to set up what we'll talk about later, hopefully, he will rise up these rankings. They will change. But right now, Jay's my number 3. I'm putting Heyman at number 2 and Roman number 1. Those to me, because that's where it all started with those guys too. And I know Heyman's not a wrestler, and you could just say he's the advocate for Roman. He's part of the bloodline. He comes out with them still now. That's my ranking right there. And Rock on the Rock with an arrow, depending when and if what I think is going to happen will happen, and we'll talk about that a little bit later.
Paul Heyman's the vein that leads to the bloodline. You can't leave him. I get what he's saying.
I gave him number 2 over Jay.
Yeah.
Him and Roman are those 2 pieces. You got to, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens when Roman's back. Aaron,
Mike, to Aaron's point before he goes, everybody got elevated. He's right about even Jimmy, because if you don't think he's going to get sympathy when he comes back, if they split the whole thing, he's going to be a bigger star. Even if he has to reunite to his brother to get it, he's still going to be huge. So everybody got elevated.
Yeah, I agree with that. All right, let's get to these super chats here. Shout out to Mr. Tito, NoDQ columnist, sent in $5. He said, Jimmy's perception would be better if his WrestleMania 40 match with Jimmy didn't suck. Oh, congrats to Virtue on his marital bliss. And again, I don't think the match sucked. I don't think it was a classic by any stretch of the imagination, but
wasn't it short?
It was short. It was like a TV match, and maybe that's why people were disappointed. They wanted it to be like a top-tier WrestleMania match, which it wasn't. It was no Bret Hart versus Owen Hart. I mean, it wasn't. But I thought it was fine.
Everybody was expecting the Bret versus Owen. That's the problem. And then you just got disappointed. It's not that it sucked. It's that it didn't meet your expectations.
And apparently they did have some time cut. I think Jay said that in an interview where they did lose out on a little bit of time for the match. So it happens. But I don't think the match was as bad as people making it out to be. Like, people were saying it's one of the worst WrestleMania matches of all time, as if it's even anywhere near the level of like Jerry Lawler versus Michael Cole at WrestleMania, or The Undertaker versus Giant Gonzalez. I've seen those comparisons. People saying it's as bad as those matches, and I'm like, did we watch the same matches? Because that match was okay. It wasn't a classic, but it could have been way worse, and I don't think it was that bad. So that's my take on that. And then Psycho Jet Black says, hey, Aaron, are you a fan of Jinder Mahal? I like Jinder. I'm not going to hinder Jinder. I think that his best work was before he won the WWE title, when he went on Talking Smack and actually spoke from the heart and just acted like himself. I wanted to see more of that Jinder Mahal. I didn't want to see him become like the stereotypical foreign heel, which is what he ultimately became. But I hope he does well. This is a great opportunity for him to shine outside of WWE, and we'll see what he does. And then Psycho Jet Black sent in $2. He says, hey, Aaron, are you a fan of Ryback? Guy was okay when he was coming out there doing the Feed Me More and had a little bit of a run. WWE kind of dropped the ball with him, but then, he never really was able to make a name for himself. And he just goes on social media and says what he wants, but he's yet to actually come back and show everybody that he deserves to be a star in the wrestling business. So that's up to him. I know he's been dealing with some health issues, and maybe he's ready to come back in the near future. And hey, if he can come back and have a great run, then more power to him. Like, go for it. If that's something he wants to do, then do it. And then Mr. Tito sent in a $2 super chat, says, hey, Psycho Jet Black, are you a fan of Ricochet? Raise your hand if you're a fan of Ricochet in this room.
I don't hate him, but I'm not like, he's
mid. He's mid.
Neutral.
Neutral. Okay. And then Psycho Jet Black sent in a $2 super chat, says, hey, Mr. Tito, are you a fan of EC3? Raise your hand if you're a fan of EC3 right now. Ouch.
I mean, he gets like hate, and I love that part about him. Like, I could say the same thing about Ryback, but I mean, what's he, an NWA? We don't watch. We just don't watch all that wrestling. There's too much other wrestling.
I appreciate them, and it's good that they made it into business. But I'm not out there buying their merch and stuff. So,
yeah, I mean, EC3 is another guy that maybe should have gotten more of an opportunity than he did, but he's not exactly lighting the world on fire outside of WWE, like the whole control your narrative. I give him credit for trying to be outside the box, but it just hasn't worked up to this point. So that's all I got to say about that. And unless anybody else has any additional comments, Virtue, I think we can move on to the next topic.
Moving on.
Oh, wait, Mike?
To show you how much I like EC3, I thought you were talking about the guy who dressed up in the Prime bottle.
Who's that?
I don't know. It needs some letters. One
Logan
of Logan's guys. And that's who is EC3? I don't even know who he is.
Ethan Carter III. He was in TNA. He played Dixie Carter, who ran TNA.
I think you're thinking of KSI.
For nephew.
There you go.
KSI.
Yeah. That's what I thought you guys were talking about. Anyway, go ahead.
Ready? Topic.
Yep.
Who should Roman Reigns feud with upon returning, and when do we think it will be? I'm hoping SummerSlam because it's in Cleveland, and we'll have to see how that plays out. But let's start talking about it. It's May. I don't care if he's back and we only see him every other week or once a month. At least we know we see Roman and he's going to get back and part of this Bloodline situation and who's the leader and what's happening with these new members, and will the Usos reunite with him? So what's everybody thinking on the return of Reigns feud, and when will this take place? Mike, I'll start with you on this one. I know it's only May 15th. We got 3 months or so till SummerSlam. That'll give him plenty of time off to do his movies, family. He came back around a SummerSlam. Was it at SummerSlam, at the end of a SummerSlam in the pandemic? What show did he come back on?
SummerSlam.
Yes. During the pandemic. So it's a thing with him. What do you think, Mike?
I think that's the only way you can bring him back, or the only time you can bring him back is SummerSlam. I mean, because SummerSlam is, in my opinion, is kind of like the kickoff to pre-Mania, because that gives you September, October, November, December, January. That gives you 5 or 6 months story build up where you can really, work angles and everything. The only other option would be the King of the Ring, but I don't see that being big enough for Roman's return. So I think it has to be SummerSlam. And
who's going to feud?
I see. Are you guys under the impression he's coming back as a face? Because if he comes, and that's I'm dreading that, because heel Roman is way, 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 way better than face Roman, in my opinion.
See, he was to me, he's been a face for the longest time. He just cheated. People were starting to cheer him, and it was kind of like that Stone Cold when he turned. So this could be the opportunity now. Roman can still be the same character, but we can truly treat him as a babyface now, because he won't cheat. He'll win his matches, or he'll compete more fairly. He won't, unless something like Cody happened where the other bloodline is cheating and then his bloodline comes out and helps. But I don't think he's going to be the initiator of the Dusty finishes. This could go way back to an argument with me and Aaron. Okay. That's why I think it'll be okay, Mike. I think he can still be the same Roman.
All right, I'm still going to stick to my Mike's Mark fantasy booking. I'm going to say he comes back as a heel and feuds with Punk, because I think Punk will because Cody's not going to be champ into SummerSlam, in my opinion. I think that luster is already starting to wear off. The pops aren't as loud. He's on too much, and he finished his story. And it's one of those, be careful for what you wish for, because you just might get it. And this isn't even me as an anti Cody Rhodes person. I think I love the guy. Like I've said 100 times on this stream, that his dad was my favorite wrestler of all time, the American Dream, and he's good. I just don't think I think people tire of him for being the champion, because he lacks that, basically because he's there too much. So I think somehow Punk, if he's healthy enough, Punk will get the title, and then Roman feuds with Punk.
Even so, what's this bloodline? The bloodline still exists. He's going to come back and not even care about that. that's where I have to challenge you.
No.
Again, him and Punk would be a great feud, but I just can't see that with this Bloodline this new version of the Bloodline existing. I can see somebody pushing it off till he comes back at Survivor Series, or maybe not even till the Royal Rumble, after Rock maybe already has the championship, and then Roman comes out at like 27 and wins it. Everybody's happy, and there's your WrestleMania match. I just can't see him coming back between now and the end of the year, not going against the Bloodline or in the Bloodline saga. It just that they've built this up so long, Mike.
But I think The Rock is coming back after Roman, so they have to have something for Roman to do while Rock gets there.
So that's what you're.
And then
at. Okay.
So that's where I'm going with it.
Okay,
so.
Fair enough. Walter.
I'm the reverse of Mike. I think The Rock comes back first, and then Roman comes in about September, October to start building, because I feel like the obvious of what a lot of us are thinking, that Bloodline thing that's going to happen, the split at War Games, so that's Survivor Series, but you need the time to build it, because I think initially Roman's going to come back as a heel, saying like maybe like a thanks Solo for taking it over while I'm gone, but I'm back now. He tries to get everyone in line, so I feel like his first feud is actually going to be Solo, because Solo's not going to want to give that up. Solo's going to be like, nah, you were gone, I carried this whole thing, look what I put together, and it's going to be like a beef over head of the table between them. It kind of like what they did with Jimmy and Jay before they lined up. He had to beat them for them to actually start acknowledging him and became part of it. And then it seems like Solo acknowledges him and it gets back in line, but it leads to The Rock being the one pulling the strings. And then Roman eventually goes his face. But I think initially he's going to come back as that heel, try to take back over his bloodline. And then it's going to be a collision between him and Solo. So I think that's where they're heading. And then it elevates Solo.
Aaron?
All right, so I can see one of two scenarios. The first scenario is Roman Reigns just comes back as a babyface, comes right after or goes right after Solo Sikoa and the new bloodline. Maybe we get Roman Reigns versus Solo at SummerSlam. I think we will see Bloodline versus Bloodline at Survivor Series, War Games, and then The Rock. I don't think we're seeing The Rock till January. I hate to say it because I thought The Rock was entertaining as hell during this WrestleMania season, but I'll believe it when I see it if he's going to come back in 2024. My gut feeling is we're not seeing The Rock again until the beginning of 2025 for WrestleMania season. If it's not Roman Reigns versus Solo, as Roman Reigns coming back in a babyface role, the other scenario is, as Mike mentioned, Roman comes back as a heel and he tries to win back his title from Cody Rhodes. I'm just trying to think, who is Cody Rhodes' opponent going to be at SummerSlam? If not Roman Reigns, is it going to be Randy Orton? I mean, I don't know. I mean, they could definitely do the Roman Reigns versus Cody rubber match at SummerSlam, and maybe Solo's bloodline costs Roman the match, and that sets up Roman Reigns versus Solo. They could do that. I would think it's going to be one of those two scenarios, but regardless, I do think Roman Reigns will be back at SummerSlam. I don't think The Rock is going to be there. If he's there, I might buy a ticket for it, but I am not going to bet money on The Rock being at SummerSlam. I'd love to see it. I'd love to see Rock come in and win that title from Cody at SummerSlam and piss everybody off. Rock's another part-time champion, but I would love it. I have a different theory on where everything's going with The Rock for WrestleMania. So, Virtue, I know you had one more topic that's in relation to this. Walter?
His opponent could be whoever wins the King of the Ring for SummerSlam. We leaving that out. It could be whoever it's that.
So, think about it. So if The Rock isn't back to face Cody, because they clearly teased that before The Rock left, as soon as SummerSlam, and like Aaron says, we got to wait for The Rock to come back. How is it not Roman coming back going right after Cody? They did that with Brock Lesnar after Roman beat Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania, and then they had another match at SummerSlam. If Roman's coming back and he's going to be in the main event of SummerSlam. If he's not, then we won't see him until the Royal Rumble, and The Rock will be back to get the big match at SummerSlam against Cody. It's one of the two. If they do anything else, it's going to be a letdown. Sorry about Randy Orton. That could be good in its own right, but it won't work for me, and I feel a little underwhelmed. So that's what I think. Roman will be back for SummerSlam like he always is. And who he wrestles, I'm saying Cody. If Rock's back to wrestle Cody, then Roman will be maybe him and the Usos, or him versus Solo one-on-one.
Yeah.
Something like that. Because I know they want to maybe save Survivor Series.
Yeah.
Bloodline versus Bloodline. But Roman, to me, will be in a major match at SummerSlam. I cannot see it any different.
Yeah, and I do think we're going to get the Bloodline War Games match in November.
Usually when you lose the title, you do get your mandatory rematch, right? So you kind of have to do Roman Cody eventually, right?
But I have another theory on Roman Reigns going for the title, and Virtue, I guess we can transition into your last topic here for us.
So last topic is when and where will Rock and Roman finally take place? When it does, because you have dirt sheets that know all the answers, and they say it's going to be Cody and Rock at WrestleMania 41 in Las Vegas. Yeah, so you're telling me they're going to skip Rock and Roman again, and especially on that stage? Now, granted, we know now based on WrestleMania 40, guys work both nights, so there's a lot of options. So, Aaron, should I start with you on this one? Do you really want to get this off your chest? I normally don't, but I will.
All right, yeah, I'll go first for once. That almost never happens. So my theory on this is The Rock is going to pull double duty for WrestleMania. I don't think he's coming back for SummerSlam. I would be very surprised if he did. And if he does, I might just buy a ticket. But my gut feeling is he'll be back in January. And I think the internet sites, the dirt sheets are right that it will be Rock versus Cody. I think it's going to be night one of WrestleMania 41. And I think at that point, The Rock will win. Therefore, it's not going to be like, The Rock holding the title hostage, because he'll probably drop it the next night to Roman Reigns. WrestleMania night 2, WrestleMania Sunday, it's going to close out with The Rock defending the championship against Roman Reigns to see who's the real head of the table, and Roman Reigns will win. He'll beat The Rock, and that will be the end of Rock's career. He'll have those two big singles matches to close out his career, and then he'll retire, and that will be it. And he'll set one more record with WrestleMania 41. Full circle, going back to that press conference. It was supposed to be Rock versus Roman. They had that press conference in Las Vegas, and then just over a year later, it comes right back around. The main event night 2 of WrestleMania, Roman Reigns wins, and he's the true tribal chief. That's my prediction for WrestleMania 41. But yeah, like you said, it could go in any number of directions. But that's my gut feeling at this point.
And I like that one, as long as we get Rock and Roman headlining next year's WrestleMania night 2. No more of these fan shenanigans, pulling their rabbits out of their hat. Walter, go ahead. What do you think here?
I agree that it's Roman Rock night 2 main event, but I don't see the title being involved. I just there's been WrestleManias where the main event isn't the title, and I just feel like to them the head of the table is their title. So I just feel like that's gonna be what you build the match around. Who's the actual head of the table? So you build it around that, and so night 2's main event is actually going to be The Rock versus Roman Reigns, but no title, because then they're gonna bitch and complain that even though the Roman regains the title, he's still gonna be part-time again, and the fans will never. They're gonna bitch and complain. So whoever the title feud is, and that's months away, a whole almost a year away. So we don't know, but I just feel like the two will meet at WrestleMania, but I don't think the title will be involved. How you get to it is up to how they book it, but eventually that is still going to be the main event of WrestleMania 41.
And Walter, I just wanted to add that I think that by doing it the way I mentioned, The Rock can be WWE champion one last time, but it's not a scenario where he's holding the title hostage. And, people might bitch about that. Oh, Rock doesn't need the title. But I could see that happening, just like trying to put myself in Dwayne Johnson's shoes and be like, would be cool if The Rock had one more chance to hold that title around his waist. So,
and if he's going to be, Aaron, that's why if he's not booked, if he doesn't have time to come back and have a match against Cody for the title at SummerSlam, it's going to probably go the way you suggested. But things sometimes happen quickly and abruptly in WWE, like Rock and Roman, and then it never happened. Before we know it, Rock could be announced to come back and challenge Cody, and I could see him win it there. Why? Because he could be that true leader of the heel bloodline, pissing fans off in that heel character, holding that belt, only showing up when he can, when he has. Dude, that's going to be vintage Rock all the way through WrestleMania next year. Again, will it work for him and his Hollywood schedule? But he is part of the WWE board of directors, and he might be more involved, like, versus the past. So, again, SummerSlam is the gauge. If we're building up to SummerSlam and Rock is not part of it, SummerSlam happens, he doesn't show up in any way, then we can start pulling back, and we know we're gonna have to wait until next year.
Yeah, and if Virtue gets it, just imagine The Rock as WWE champion, God as the tag team champions of SmackDown. You just give the Bloodline all the title, then Solo has the US title, and you do it like that with The Rock, and they just carry the company leading into WrestleMania. Like and
then Roman and
theoretically
Usos
they can all have it. Yeah.
Sami Zayn are the good Bloodline, or
yeah, exactly.
Or Roman and the Usos and another guy. But anyway, Mike, did you go on this one? I can't remember. I don't think so.
Mm-mm.
No, not yet.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be WrestleMania 41, and I'll probably never be invited back to this show again because of what I'm about to say. I think I'm the only person on the planet that has 0.000% interest in seeing that match. So,
in what match?
Rock and Roman.
Why?
Rock isn't going to be there full time.
Because then I call you out you say you're a Bloodline fan all this time. I call bullshit.
I'm a fan of Roman Reigns. I'm the Rock.
So you're not a fan of the Bloodline because how could they? This is something that's been teased indirectly since they've been together because we know they're related.
And I understand. I understand that. But
you just want to be controversial. That's okay. No, you just want to say
something. It has nothing to do with being controversial. Well, it's because Rock is not going to be there.
You're the same guy that just said, "Oh, he's going to come back and face CM Punk." Yeah, whatever. Yeah. Go ahead and explain yourself. Bullshit take, but you're allowed the floor.
That's all. I didn't say it wasn't going to happen. I didn't say they weren't going to do it. I have no interest in seeing it.
Yeah, and I'm calling out why, because you've always said
he's not going to be there the whole time. Rock isn't going to wrestle the whole time.
You're not a true Roman fan. I'm calling you out on that. If you don't want to see Rock and Roman, then I'm calling bogus. You're just throwing Roman's name out there because he's popular.
Okay, that's fair enough. We agree to disagree on that. I don't have any interest in seeing that match.
Mark.
It'll happen, and I'm sure it'll be big for the ratings. I just don't have any.
I want CM Punk and Roman, though.
No, I would just kind of come up with the feud of who he was going against, because I don't think they're going to bring him back right against Cody because they got to work that in. So, but yeah.
It's interesting that you say that, because this whole time you're like, I don't want to see Cody champion. I can't believe Cody and Roman get this match. And now that's just so funny to me that you now don't want to see Rock and Roman. So are you a Cody supporter in a way now? Is this kind of you coming out of the
when did I say anything about Cody being champion? I don't want Cody champion.
I know. And so it's strange to me that you don't want Cody as champion, but you also don't want Rock and Roman. That's odd. Like, you're not. Look what we had going into WrestleMania, right? It was good. Cody won the Royal Rumble. Yeah. What they were going to go with,
it was
Cody
great.
and Roman.
And it
now
was great
Rock came in.
It was great the way 40 played out, and now we're going to see it again in 41.
Rock came in, and they were going to do Rock and Roman. You might not be the only one that wants it. Besides, I might call you a Cody crybaby, but clearly they went back to it, and you did not want Cody as champion. You were hoping Roman would beat him. Well, where was Roman going to go from here if he beat Cody and stayed champion? Punk? Is that like where? I'm just saying, if you didn't want Rock to be Roman's guy, if Roman beat Cody and kept going, where would Roman have went in your opinion then? If you didn't want to see the match,
my take on that was Cody would have kept chasing on that
until he finally won it, or kept losing every time.
till he gave up or Roman retired. I don't think Cody ever should have finished the story against Roman.
Interesting. Who should he have finished it against? I know you probably said it before. Can't remember. Who do you think Cody should have finished it against? Yes.
He shouldn't have. He should have kept losing.
So he should have never won it. Interesting.
And
so
then
no Cody finishing a story, no Rock and Roman.
Get Roman to Hulk.
But you're a Roman fan, but you want none of that.
Bruno and Backlund, I don't count those titles. Have Cody chase till Roman gets Hogan's record.
So let me get this straight. You really want Roman and Punk. Is that your dream match?
No.
Then what do you want for Roman if you're a big Roman fan? It's like you want nothing.
I want him to lead.
What do you want?
I want him to lead a heel bloodline and just beat and wrestle. What did he wrestle? 3 times a year, put the belt on the line? And then he would come to a SmackDown once a month, get a huge pop, have half the crowd hate him, half the crowd love him.
Is it the title on the line that's bothering you? Or even if there was no title on the line, Rock and Roman, nope, it doesn't make sense. They're only cousins, and they're only the biggest stars in wrestling of their family.
I'll take Rock, Roman, no title involved. That I can go.
I talked him into it. Did you see what I did? So you're okay.
Because that makes sense. Because remember, you and I is it $10 or $20 we got bet that Rock never wins the championship again.
Yeah, I said he will, right?
And right. Is it 20?
It was 20. It was
okay.
20.
We got $20. So I'll take Rock, Roman, and before the main event or event night 1. But
I get next time, so we didn't have to go around the ring around the rosy here.
What? I didn't know.
You made it sound like you wanted that match, and you didn't want it at all. And I'm like, they're cousins, the biggest guys in their family.
Like Walter said, there've been WrestleMania main events that haven't been for the title. So, but you didn't specify either. So don't blame me.
That $20. I look forward to getting that $20 when it does happen. The question is when. Aaron even said it will happen at some point, even if it's for one day.
Would that be his 8th or 9th reign, Rob?
I don't know.
I think he's 7-time champ, right? I think this will be his 8th.
He held that title, though. And I don't think he did it for no reason. He held that.
I was just trying to think of whether he would try to get the double digits before he retired or just leave it. That's why I was asking. If
he wins it, he's dropping it to Roman. That's clear. Yeah. That's clear as that. All right. Aaron, any other super chat?
Well, that was definitely interesting. Psycho Jet Black sent in a $2 super chat. Says, Mike, have you been trolling Virtue all this time?
Apparently, he thinks so. I didn't mean it that way. I don't like the match. I'm sure,
Do you just not want to see The Rock wrestling? You think he's past his prime, and it's
that's part of it.
All right.
And plus, I want my $20 because.
Who's your favorite football team? That'll tell me a lot about you. I don't know if you ever told me.
Stickers right behind me. Chicago Bears.
I rest my case.
Let me guess, you're a Browns fan?
No, Denver Broncos. I got a couple Super Bowls.
Well, I got one. So
I know. Are you 85? Aaron's like, what are we talking about here? 1985.
I get that. I know that much.
Any other super chats or anything else here?
I think we're caught up, and that was an interesting discussion. But I think The Rock is wrestling again. So, Mike, you're going to have to just deal with The Rock being in the ring again. I would say that's almost a certainty that he's going to wrestle again.
Yeah,
and
sorry.
I didn't disagree with anybody that the match wasn't going to happen. I don't have to like it.
Yeah,
it's just odd.
Not everybody does the foot fetish.
All this time you love Bloodline. You're like pro Bloodline. All this time I've had you on the show these days. Pro Bloodline, pro Roman, and then it's like, no, I don't want Rock and Roman. But you did have a little bit of change if there was no title on the line. So at least you went there. I just don't know how you can be invested in Roman Reigns at this point at all and not have any interest, even if it's not a title match, versus Rock for the head of the table. Like that's been the story that's being subtly and now blatantly delivered all along. And it just didn't make sense to me there. Like if you were always like kind of like mixed on the bloodline, I would not even have went there with you. But I felt like you always had that. You were like one of my boys there with Roman. And so I'm like, all right, well, that's just a strange take. And I wanted to, dig a little deeper on that with you. So thank you.
Well, then, so more deep digging.
That's what I do. Moderator. Oh, wait, it doesn't say.
Digging deeper on that is,
yeah.
What was my top three? Jimmy Uso, Solo, and Roman Reigns. I didn't even have The Rock anywhere near there. So it's Roman's bloodline. So I don't want anybody infiltrating my bloodline. So keep Rock away from my
Maybe
bloodline.
The Rock's a threat.
Maybe Rock should go start the Nation of Domination again.
Maybe, yeah. Rock is like that heel. Rock is really healing up Mike where he hates him, doesn't even want him to wrestle. All right. Aaron, I saw a super chat come in.
Psycho Jet Black sent in a $2 super chat. He says, to quote Homer Simpson, the Denver Broncos.
I don't watch enough Simpsons to know that was a thing.
I mean, they made a reference to pretty much everything in pop culture. Yeah. So, yeah, I guess
they lost a lot of Super Bowls. Denver lost a lot of Super Bowls, but they also won 3, and that counts for something.
And they've won since 1985, right?
Yes, they've won in like 2015 or whenever it was with Peyton Manning.
They won the Shannon Sharp days. They won a couple.
All right. There's another one.
Oh, there is? No? Oh, yeah, you're right. Psycho Jet Black sent in a $2 super chat. Says, at least you're not Washington Commanders fans.
Well, but they won since the Bears did. It was like 1991 or
they
something.
Won 91.
Like that.
1990 or 91.
85 was the greatest team of all time.
Mike, didn't the Bears go? Who did the Bears lose to like within the last 15, 20 years? Was it the Saints or not the Saints? Didn't they go to a Super Bowl?
Colts. Manning beat them with the Colts.
Manning. Yeah. Damn him. All right, gentlemen, let's go around and say our last words. And it could be anything you want to say. Walter, go ahead.
Are we just giving plugs or saying what we...
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So for Twitter at Walter Alex Cruz, the Instagram, the business one is Cal Fire Farms, and the at Rage of Wrestling YouTube channel, which June 11th. Now I'm off. But the UFC 301 is the next watch along. So I'm waiting for that because that's Dustin and Dustin Poirier and Mazakov. So I'm waiting for that one.
All right. You are a UFC fan, huh?
Yeah.
All right. Mike's a big fantasy football guy, but he's going to have to wait a few more months. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for having me on again, guys. Always a pleasure. And podcast, Flight Football, anything else on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, available Thursday nights, early Friday mornings, episode 231 in 2 days.
All right.
Thanks again. Always have fun.
You're allowed back on, by the way. We're having fun. That's what we do on this show.
Oh, yeah,
How could I not have hit that button on that one? All right, Aaron, go ahead.
Just stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest, and we have hopefully some more news and more newsworthy topics for the next review. We do have the King and Queen of the Ring Premium Live event. Surprisingly, no AEW talk this week. We usually have at least one AEW topic, but we do have Double or Nothing coming up Memorial Day weekend. So maybe something interesting will happen en route to that, and we'll have some hot topics for the next review. So yeah, NoDQ.com. Stay tuned.
And if you dare, over on X.com, you can follow me at NoDQ_Virtue. There's the man right there, Roman Reigns. He will be back. And no matter what he does, we'll all be loving it. And if you hate him, you still watch, you still stand when you go to the shows, you still put your finger in the air. And even through that whole time of you booing him out of the building as the SWAT team member that defected from the Shield. Well, he didn't defect, but after the Shield broke up, you hated him. You ended up loving him. And go to NoDQ.com/merch and get all the cool NoDQ merch, Virtue merch over there. We got to get Mike. Mike needs a shirt over there. I don't care what it says. It's got to be something, though. It could be like a football. And then Aaron, maybe like with a question mark, NoDQ, because Aaron doesn't know what football is. Hey, Mike, you haven't tried to get Aaron into football being kind of like you guys are related now, right?
No, he doesn't. No. Every time the game's on Thanksgiving, he leaves the room.
Wow.
That's true. It's true. People
Even-
are kind of shocked about that.
Even if you leave Diet Pepsi on the counter?
Even if you leave Diet, well, they don't have Diet Pepsi. Remember, Mike works for Coke, so no
Oh, yeah.
Pepsi products in this house.
That's right.
All right. Well, Mike, you got to have how many? You do like 10 fantasy football leagues, right? I got to get in one league with you this year. Just one. We got to figure that out.
All right.
Go ahead, Aaron. Something came through.
Oh, something did come through. Okay, let's get to that. Shout out to Mr. Tito. He sent in $5. Thank you, Tito. He says, bumper sticker on Virtue's car in a few years. My wife said she'd leave me if I watched one more Roman Reigns match. Man, I'm going to miss her.
She likes him. I mean, she hates wrestling and typically makes fun of it, like Samantha Irvin doing ring announcing. But she loves Roman Reigns and always is peeking at him when he's coming out there.
Oh, and you know that Samantha Irving, the announcer that Jim Cornette praised.
Well, yeah, I mean, again, Jim Cornette, who likes the big booty. So obviously he's going to praise a female that looks like her, which good for Jim. We like Jim, even when we disagree with him.
Right.
I disagree with him. Oh, and what's her name? She got put over by Lillian Garcia.
Yeah.
Too, in the middle of the ring.
Yeah.
So there you go. And that's
And
all
Michael
I got.
Buffer.
Michael Buffer, the person handling his Twitter account.
Yeah.
That's all I got for Mike, for Walter, for Aaron, and the whole NoDQ crew and galaxy. Stay tuned. We'll get through this spring and early summer. The good stuff will be coming again.
Hold on.
Oh, another super chat.
And by the way, that Washington team, that's Washington, D.C.'s team?
Yes.
Yeah,
I thought they were
used
the
to be
Redskins.
They were.
but you know, Marx and sensitive people forced them to change it because racism.
Oh, like I was very confused because I know the Seahawks are the Washington State.
Let me give you a skinny. White dudes and females didn't want them to be the Redskins anymore, and the team caved in. But actual Native Americans want them to change it back. That's the skinny on. That's a skinny on that, Aaron.
Well,
the actual people that logo represented wants it to be that white females and males who are, whatever they call that, white knighting. They're the ones that didn't want it.
Now, see that's how little football I watch. I didn't even know that they changed the name. So when I saw that Washington was a Commanders,
Yeah,
I was like, that's not Washington State, and I thought DC was the Redskins.
They just got that name. They were just the Washington team for a little bit, or the Washington.
Didn't happen. Like the Indians changed to the Guardians, but like Blackhawks are still Blackhawks, Chiefs, Braves. A lot of them have stayed the same. I mean, it was just a couple that I know of. But anyway.
And an answer to Psychojet Black super chat of $2. My thoughts on the Coca-Cola Clear version. I've been there 30 years, and Pepsi had Pepsi Clear, but I don't recall in 30 years Coca-Cola having a clear version. Pepsi Clear was there, and it flopped big time.
Yeah,
Coke only had one flub, and it was that new Coke. I don't know what they did. They just did a different ingredient or whatever. But
what did they do, Mike? Do you have any inside knowledge on the new Coke?
They just changed the formula a little bit. It wasn't as sweet, and that actually was right around when I started. So
yeah.
I actually liked the new Coke when I was a kid, surprisingly. Maybe because it tasted like Pepsi.
I was Coke. 5, and I don't even remember. Like, it was still Coke to me. I don't remember it,
Coke Zero is like the big one now.
I love Coke Zero. Coke Zero is my favorite, so there you go. And Mr. Tito sent in a $2 super chat, says, best match you have ever seen. I mean, I still stick with Steve Austin versus Bret Hart from WrestleMania.
Well, but what does he mean by that? Live in the arena or like just watched on TV? Or
Good question. In the arena, best match I've ever seen, Kurt Angle versus Shawn Michaels, WrestleMania 21. Yeah. There you go. What about you, Walter? Best match you've seen in person?
In person? Whoa.
Yeah.
I'd have to think about it.
Yeah, I got to think to put that on the spot. I recency bias because of my first WrestleMania. I guess the Roman versus Cody, just because it's recent and it's I can think off the top of my head because that's my first WrestleMania.
Yeah, I don't really know. I'd have to think about it.
All right. Well,
Mike, any best match you ever seen?
Live, I haven't seen enough live stuff to give a live one, but my television matches were Hell in a Cell, Taker, and Mankind. And then I get laughed at for saying it, but I don't care. Rhea Ripley, Charlotte Flair, and what was that, 39?
That was a good match. That was a good match. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. All right. Well, thank you for that, Mr. Tito. A little bit of overtime, and I guess we'll wrap it up now. Right about in an hour, Virtue. Good job.
Aaron, for Walter, for Mike, and the whole NoDQ crew and Galaxy. This has been the NoDQ Review 285. We will see you again next time. Good night, everybody.